Hey you all, I'm also hi to fellow dressmakers. You're welcome to another interesting tutorial. My name is Confidence. In this video, I'll be showing you the most effective way to calculate your PC skirt to achieve any desired fullness. And in this case, I'll be using a 6 piece skirt to show you. So if you like the sound of that, kindly watch this video to the very end and let's get right into it. So the first thing you have to consider is the number of pieces you're going for. We have the 4 pieces, 6 pieces, 8 pieces and the rest. And for this case, I'll be using 6 pieces to show you, okay? There's going to be 6 pieces as the number of the pieces. Then the next thing is the hip circumference of the person you're working with. And for this case, it's 42. So it's going to be the hip circumference divided by the number of pieces. And in this case, the hip circumference is 42 divided by 6, which is the number of the pieces. And that would give me 7. Okay. So this 7 now will serve as a base for the fullness of the pieces, not the actual fullness. What you're going to do now is to use this 7 to times it by how much you want the skirt to be full. For me, I'm going for average. So I'm going to do 7 times 1.5. That's 1.5, right? And that will give me 10.5. You can decide to do 7 times 2. Okay, that would give you 14. So basically, when you fold your fabric, you're going to mark it this way. Okay, so the end or the fullness of what you just marked will be 10.5. It will be 10.5 on fold. By the time you open it up, it's going to be 21, right? When you open up the fabric, it's going to be 21. So this 21 now, the 6 pieces, each of the pieces will be 21. The fullness, that's the down part, the wideness of the down part will be 21. Okay. And since I said that I'm going for 6 pieces, it's going to be 10.5 times 6, right? Which is the number of the pieces, and that will give me 63. That will be on fold. By the time I open up the fabric, it's going to be 126 in total. So after sewing, if I measure the hem of the skirt, it's going to be 126 in total, meaning that each of the pieces is going to be 21. That's 21 times 6. Yeah, that will be 126. On fold is 63. Now to calculate the yardage, how many yards will give me this 126? How many inches is 1 yard? That's 36, right? 36 inches makes 1 yard. So what I'm going to do is to divide this 126. Either you do 126 or you do 63, it's still going to give you the same result. Okay, so let's do the whole number, which is 126 divided by 36. That would give me 3.5. So this 3.5 now signifies 3.5 yards. So 3.5 yards will give you this fullness that we just calculated now. Now this method even works better if you're following a pattern fabric, like you're working with a pattern fabric, those kind of fabric that you have to follow the textile designs. Okay, it works better. But if you're interchanging your fabric as you cut, it will even take lesser than this 3.5. But what if you feel like this 3.5 is still too much for you, like you want to use just 3 yards for your PC skirt? You're going to minus the 5 from the 3.5. That's 18 inches. 36 divided by 2, that's 18, which is half yard. So 126 minus 18, that will be 108. So 108 divided by 6, that would give me 18 inches. So each of the pieces, instead of being 21, is going to be 18 inches. That means on fold is going to be 9 inches, and when you open it up, it's going to be 18 inches. I hope that is clear enough. So let's put this into practice. Okay, I've gone ahead to fold the fabric and I folded using 10.5. Okay, I'll be at the end of the day, I used 3 yards for this. Like I said, this is not a patterned fabric, so I'm not following any textile design, which makes it easy for me to interchange as I cut. Okay, so I'm using the whole length, which is about 45 inches for the full length of the skirt. And then I'm going to start from one end and go down to 10 inches. By the way, I used a rope as the finishing for the waistline of this skirt. Okay, so the hip line is 10, then I'll go down to 21 inches as the knee line. Then I'm going to read it out this way. We are cutting the center Okay, after cutting the center, we'll go ahead and cut the side of the pieces, which will be 4. The center will be 2. Okay, so here I'll be marking the bust span of the person, or the nipple to nipple measurement of the person, plus extra half inch for joining. It's 3.5, but I marked 4 inches. Okay, and that would be for the joining allowance. Then when I get to the knee line, I will be minusing half inch from whatever I have on the waist and on the hip, right? 3.5 plus half, that's 4 inches. I mark that on the waist and on the hip line. Then I minus half inch, which is 3.5. Half inch from 4 inches, that's 3.5, and I marked it on the knee. And then I connect it to the 10.5 I have as the fullness of this folded fabric. I hope that is clear enough. So after cutting it out, this is what it looks like. Can you see? So if you can work with this, that means you're following the same calculation. Just do your calculation just as I did mine. Now I'm going to fold the fabric again. I will try to show you in case you want to do yours with a cut together tail, like you want the back to be bigger. But I already say that I'm doing rope as the waistband. It's going to be rope on the waist. So you're going to fold your fabric in excess more than what you already cut out initially. Then you're going to place what you cut out there, and then you're going to measure what you have from where you place the fabric. Whatever you have there, that should be the added fullness to the back. If you're okay with that, you can work with that. But if you're not, you can shift it forward. But like I said, I'm not going for that. So another thing I will try to show you now is, in case you're adding zipper, how to add your zipper allowance. So you're going to fold the fabric this way, making sure you have at least 2 inches extra from the folded fabric to where you place the fabric on, right? Then you're going to start from the top, from the waist, and go down to the hip line of 10 inches and 21 inches as the knee line. And then you're going to be adding your desired zipper allowance. For my case, I usually use 1 inch on the waist, 1.25 on the hip, and then half inch on the knee. This way it blends so well without you even trying to do the hip contour or all of that. Okay, if you have been following this channel, you know that this is how we do it when we do not want to go through the stress of doing the butt contour and all of that. Okay, so you are going to slant it this way from the half inch on the knee, right? Or you just connect it straight, whichever one you're going for. That's if you want the same fullness you have on the front to be on the back. But like I said, it's going to be the same both the center front and the center back, because I'm going to use rope to finish the waistline as the fastener. Yeah. So I'm going to trace out what I already cut out initially. Now I'm going to smoothen the fabric. This time it's not on fold. Then I will take one of the center that I just cut out. I'll open it up and then place it on. You can see what I did. The part on the single fabric on the floor, right? The part that is bigger, that looks bigger, that is where I place the hem of the center that I already cut out. That is what I meant by interchanging your fabric as you cut. Okay, so I'm going to place it this way and then smoothen it and trace it out on one side this way. After tracing it out, I'm going to turn it to the wrong side, just so I do not have my marking on the right side of the fabric. If you're comfortable marking on the right side of the fabric, go ahead and do it. But I feel like this chalk is hard to clean on the fabric, so I'm going to turn it to the wrong side this way. And then I'm going to start from this end and go down to the 10 inches I'm using as the hip line, and go down to 21 inches I'm using as the knee line, and highlight it this way. Now I'm going to divide the waist. Okay, so since I'm doing rope as the fastener on the waistline, I'm going to use the hip circumference. I'll do that on the waist and on the hip. So the hip is 42 divided by 4. That would be 10.5, right? So 10.5 minus the 3.5 you already used to cut out the center front. Remember, we cut that on fold. Okay, so you're going to just do minus 3.5. I don't know if that is clear. So 42 divided by 4, that's 10.5, minus 3.5, that would be 7.5, right? So I'm going to mark the 7.5 on the waistline and on the hip line plus extra 2 inches as allowance. Then I'm going to minus 1 inch from what I have on the hip and mark it on the knee. You can decide to do more, or better still, you use whatever you use as your knee circumference, then you divide it by 4 and minus the 3 inches you already used to cut out the center front. I hope I'm making sense. Now on the end, I'm going to mark the same 21 inches I used to cut out the center front as the wideness for the hem. I just marked 21 since we are not cutting this on fold. Okay, then I'm going to slant it to the knee measurement I have this way. So after that, now I'm going to cut it out. So basically, you're going to minus whatever you already cut out on the center front, right? And then whatever you have left, you're going to use it to cut the side, just so you do not have any shortage of measurement. And then you also add your desired allowance, and then you are going to cut it out. After cutting it out, you're simply going to use it to trace another 3. The side is going to be 4 pieces, okay, and then the center 2 pieces. That makes it 6 pieces. Okay, so after cutting, this is what I have the 6 pieces, and you can see the side and the center. So when I open up the center, it's going to look the same like the side. Because of what we did, there is no difference on the waist and on the hip on the side. So what I'll be doing is I'll be notching on the side to help me indicate which part is the side. So I measured what I have left on the fabric, and I said I used 3 yards for this pieces skirt instead of the 3.5 we calculated. If you watch the blouse tutorial of this skirt, you will notice that I said that I bought this fabric at 6 yards and it ended up being just 4 and 23 inches. So I measured 9.5, yeah, 1 yard and about 21 inches, yeah, which means I used 3 inches to cut out the skirt. Like I said, I notched this side just so it helps me know that that part is this side. We'll be going to this side, right? Then I went ahead to cut out the lining and use doing full lining for this skirt. You can do half lining if you so wish, but I cut out full lining for each of the pieces. I just traced it out on the lining. There's no other added allowance or something like that. Okay, so we'll be joining this now. I'll first take one center, right? Then I'll take 2 sides. I'm just trying to notch the line in 2 just so I know that that part will be the side. Okay, I'll take one of the side and place it this way on the center, then I will pin it down. Okay, I will also pin the other part, like place the other one on the other side down and pin it down. You can decide to pin it all the way down just so it will be easy and smooth for you to join. Okay, so I'll just place this other one here and also pin it down. Then I'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other pieces, the other 3 pieces left, and I'll do the same thing for the lining. I'll go to my sewing machine and join it on where I pin down 1/2 inch. I'll be joining with just 1/2 inch. I'll join both the fashion fabric and the lining. Then I'll come back to show you what I have. So this is what it looks like after joining. This is what the lining looks like, and you can see that I'm yet to iron it out. So this is what it looks all the way from the waist all the way to the down, right? And then I have the fashion fabric. Then I just cut out a strip of fabric and turn it out to have this rope. If you feel that this is wider, if you're going for a rope fastener, you can reduce, like you can make it thinner than what I have here. Now I'm going to go over to my ironing table, and then I will be ironing this. I'll just be placing the stitching allowance going to the side, then I will iron it out. I'll do the same thing for the fashion fabric, and this is what I have afterwards. So for the ironing, you can decide to like open up the stitches, or you just iron it the same way I do mine. If you're working with Ankara, doing it this way will save you more time and it will still come out smooth. Just make sure that you iron the stitching allowance going to one side. It should not be going to the center, right? Then I will be trimming this part out. This is the down part, right? I'll be trimming it on where I join because you can see that it's pointy. If you use much more fabric than I use, like yours is fuller than mine, that part is likely to be pointier than what I have here. So expect that in case you want it fuller, like you make your skirt fuller. Then on the lining, I just trimmed out 1/2 inch just so after turning it, the lining will not be popping out on the fabric. Okay. Now I'm going to place it right side facing right side waistline to waistline this way, right? Then I'll go ahead and like join it on the waistline, top stitch on the waist on the lining, then also turn it on the down part to have something like this. Can you see? So after joining it on the waist, I top stitch on the lining just to hold the lining in place, right? Then this is what the down part looks like. I didn't top stitch on the down part. I just joined it with half inch. Okay, now I'm going to smoothen it this way from the waist. Make sure the lining is in place, like it's not popping out. Then I'll join it. When I get to somewhere here, I'll backstitch and then give a space again and backstitch again and stitch it all the way down. It's very simple. This will help you, like this will give a room for you to turn your skirt out after joining it, right? So after that, I ironed it out and this is what it looks like. It came out so neat. So giving that space, that's where you'll be turning your skirt out, and doing it this way makes you have a very neat finishing afterwards. So this is how it came out. I iron it after turning the lining, and now I'll go ahead and do the final measurement. I'll mark the waist measurement, divide by 2. I'll mark it, then measure whatever allowance I have left and share it on both sides equally. I'll go to the hip line and mark the hip measurement, divide by 2. I'll measure the allowance I have left and share it equally on both sides, right? And then I'll connect from the waist measurement to the hip measurement this way. And when I get to the knee, there is no allowance on the knee. So I will just be joining with about 0.375 or even 0.25. Can you see how tiny I connect it to the knee? Okay, so I'm going to just place this one on it, right side facing right side, waistline to waistline. Then I'm going to join on where I marked, and afterwards this is what it looks like. Can you see? So this is how neat this came out. That's the effect of ironing as you go. It makes your work really neat. And to do the rope, you're going to decide if you want the rope to be on the center or on the side of your skirt, right? So let's say you want to do that on the center. You're going to get the midpoint of the skirt, right, of the waistline, right? Then when you get it, you're going to place your rope this way, like half inch down before the waistline. Then you're going to flip the waistline over it this way, and then you're going to stitch. You're going to, from the midpoint, you're going to give like 1 inch space on both sides. That's like you start 1 inch from the midpoint and you stop 1 inch before the midpoint. But I want mine to be on the side, so I'm going to repeat the same process. Place the rope like half inch down, then I'll place the waistline over it this way, making sure that it's going to be like a casing, like the rope is free on its own. Then I'm going to arrange it this way. You can decide to pin it down just so it stays in place. Then you're going to stitch, okay? From the joining on the side, I will give about 1 inch space and then I'll stop 1 inch before the joining I have on the side. And that way you left a space so that when the person ties the rope, the person will see a space to tie the rope anyhow the person wants, okay? And this is what it looks like afterward. If you feel like this rope is big, you can make it thinner, and then the casing will even be thinner than what I have here. Just make sure you leave a space just as you can see it here, so that it will be easy for the person to tie the rope or to tighten the rope anyhow the person wants. So overall, the skirt came out so well and even very neat. Can you see in and out? The skirt came out so well. So with this method of calculating the pieces, you can even fold your fabric at once. You can fold the side like the 4 pieces of the side once, and then you fold the 2 pieces of the center once, and you will still save your fabric. Like this calculation helps saves your fabric. And if you're even using a patterned fabric, like the hem of the skirt has to align, the pattern on the hem has to align, it will still work. The only thing is that whatever you calculated, that's what you're going to use at the end of the day. But this one, you see that I calculated 3.5 and I used yeah, and I used 3 yards at the end of the day. So this will be the end of our tutorial today. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section and let me know if you learned something new. Have you tried this method before? And I'll see you on my next one. Be good. Bye.